You ever have one of those moments, you're online clicking away, and then, poof, everything just stops. Your favorite news site, the game you're about to win, even your work stuff, it's all just gone. Well, today we're going to dig into one of those moments, a massive internet outage that shows us just how surprisingly fragile this whole online world we live in really is.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll talk about that moment the web just went dark. Then, we'll get into what Cloudflare even is. After that, we'll trace the whole crisis, minute by minute, see who got hit, and then wrap up with the big one. Why a single outage like this is actually a huge deal for all of us.
All right, let's picture it. It's November 18th. You're trying to get somewhere online, and instead of a web page, you get nothing. Or maybe one of those weird cryptic error messages. It's that sinking feeling, the one where your digital world just evaporates.
I mean, we've all been there, right? You feel totally cut off. You start doing the ritual, check the Wi-Fi, restart the router, maybe even restart the whole computer. But here's the thing, the problem wasn't you. On this day, millions of us were hitting that same brick wall, all at the exact same time.
And this is when the penny dropped for everyone. This quote from The Independent basically confirmed it. This wasn't just your internet acting up. This was huge. And suddenly, this company that most of us have never even heard of, Cloudflare, was all over the news for basically breaking a huge chunk of the internet.
So that's the big question, right? Who is this company, Cloudflare? Well, they're kind of one of the most important companies you've probably never thought about. They're like this invisible layer of the internet that most of the time just works. But what is it they actually do?
Okay, let's make this simple. Think of Cloudflare as the internet's security guard and its traffic cop all rolled into one. It's a service that stands between you and the websites you want to visit, and its job is to make sure that whole journey is fast, safe, and doesn't crash. And since they do this for millions and millions of websites, if they have a bad day, the whole internet feels it. So let's break this down real quick. They protect sites from nasty cyber attacks. That's a huge one. They also help sites handle massive spikes in traffic, so they don't crash when they suddenly get popular. They speed everything up so pages load in a snap. Basically, they're doing a ton of heavy lifting in the background. So when a service this fundamental goes down, it's not just one website that breaks, it's a massive domino effect.
And now for the timeline. This is where it gets really interesting. We can actually see through Cloudflare's own public updates how this whole crisis played out in real time. And believe me, it was a sprint.
So the first official word comes out at 12:03 UTC, and the message is super simple, almost worryingly so. We are continuing to investigate. At this point, nobody, probably not even them, knew how bad this really was.
Then, radio silence for over 30 minutes. The next update is the exact same thing. Can you imagine the tension? All these major websites are just dark, and the company responsible is just saying, "We're still looking."
And again, we're nearly an hour into this thing and still no answers. That public silence could only mean one thing: a frantic, all-hands-on-deck scramble behind the scenes to find what went wrong.
Okay, here's the full play-by-play of that 90-minute digital fire drill. It kicks off at 11:48. By 12:21, there's a tiny bit of hope. Some things start coming back, but it's shaky. At 13:04, they're trying anything, even shutting down a service in London to stop the bleeding. Then, the breakthrough at 13:09, they find the cause. And get this, just 4 minutes later, a fix is rolling out and things are starting to look normal again. An absolutely incredible race against the clock.
So that's the tech side, which is wild. But what did all this chaos actually look like for us, the users? Well, the impact was instant, it was messy, and it sent shockwaves across pretty much the entire internet. And this is just a tiny snapshot. You try to go on X, formerly Twitter, or Letterboxd, you get a dead page. You try to use ChatGPT, you get this bizarre error message about unblocking a Cloudflare website. And maybe the weirdest of all, the betting site Bet365 was telling people they were blocked, like they'd done something wrong. So it wasn't just sites being down, it was this cascade of super confusing and just plain wrong error messages. And think about this for a second. In the middle of this chaos, Cloudflare managed to push out 8 public updates in less than 2 hours. That's a new update roughly every 15 minutes. It just shows you the frantic pace you have to keep when the internet's on fire and millions of people are looking to you for answers.
You know, it's also really important to understand that not all downtime is a 5-alarm fire. At the same exact time this global outage was happening, Cloudflare was doing planned maintenance in places like Santiago and Los Angeles. And that's the key difference. One is like a scheduled road closure. It's announced and traffic gets rerouted. The other, it's a sudden, catastrophic pileup on the main highway that brings everything to a screeching halt. Okay, so things broke, then they got fixed. End of story, right? Well, not so fast. What's the bigger picture here? Why does one company having a really bad 90 minutes matter so much to all of us? It's because this whole event yanked back the curtain on a pretty uncomfortable truth about the internet.
And this, right here, is the big one. This is the main takeaway. We like to think of the internet as this sprawling, decentralized thing that can't be broken, but the reality? So much of it flows through just a handful of giant companies, Cloudflare, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud. It makes things super efficient for sure, but it also creates these massive, single points of failure.
And this wasn't some freak accident. It's part of a growing pattern. As The Independent points out, this whole thing felt a lot like a major Amazon Web Services outage that happened just a month before, which also took down huge parts of the web. It shows that when one of these giants stumbles, they can take a whole lot of us down with them.
So I want to leave you with this question to chew on. The invisible services that run our digital lives are getting more powerful, but they're also getting more concentrated. This outage was a massive wake-up call. It's a reminder that the seamless, always-on internet we just expect to be there, well, it's resting on a foundation that might be a lot more fragile than we think. So what happens the next time one of these giants has a bad day?